Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Dang, we really going into this subject too? I thought this was an anime channel. It is, very much so. But with a lot of stuff that has also been happening, that has been affecting, obviously things with censorship and free speech as well, I do think this could also be very much a moment in time where some political party or somebody as well could use this to kind of reinforce the idea that yes, censorship should be a thing or things like that when it comes to it. Because obviously, if you haven't seen what happened yesterday, and I didn't know about it at all because I was blasting through Genshin, but when it comes down to it, though, essentially some very important figure that basically was talking about like gun violence or something like that. I don't have the full details. Charlie Kirk, I think, end up getting like boomed in like broad daylight essentially while he was just like doing like a live debate or something, whatever it was. And there's been a weird reaction to it where people are like, obviously saying this is bad, this is terrible, it's a tragic event. And then obviously you get people that is like, saying things like, this is good, glad he's gone, and things like that, which is honestly wild to say. I don't really know what to, what kind of idea kind of goes through your head where you think celebrating somebody's death is a great thing. I couldn't be a part of that party. No matter who it is, I couldn't be a part of that party for certain, right? Life is the one thing that is like extremely valuable that it seems like a lot of people these days especially don't really value for shit, honestly. And it's the one thing that you can't necessarily get back, right? It's the one thing that is basically, once done in some shape and form, GG's, you're out of there and you're going somewhere else, right? That's just how it is. So it's not necessarily something I would ever see. And this ain't the first time people celebrated over a death or something bad like that. There's been multiple times, right? There's been absolutely multiple times when it comes down to it. And it's just weird, terrible, and it just straight up shows you a deep stabilization of society as a whole. It just is what it is, right? So obviously, it's not necessarily anything good. And this is one thing too that I really want to get my point across when it comes to this video as a whole. It's just the fact that you can have whatever opinion you want. You can say however you want to say things and feel how you feel. There's plenty of things I don't like about certain people. There's plenty of opinions I don't really agree with that frustrate me to no end. But there is never a moment where it should go down to a point where you need to just straight up boom somebody, right? Where you just absolutely need to just do it in the best possible way for you to think that yes, this is how it should go, because it doesn't help anybody. The moment somebody goes for violence and say, yeah, it's time to actually piece somebody up, it never ends well. You think that this incident is just going to be a thing that gets swept under the rug? That's basically it. Only the person that pulled the trigger, if they find that person, is going to be the person that, suffers the consequence. No, this is going to have a ripple effect across everybody. And essentially, this is going to make, the advocates and, those activist groups and people that is already trying to censor your rights hard as hell, yeah, this is going to give them more reason to do so. This is going to very much give them more reason to do so. And it should not even come down to this at all. It shouldn't even be used in a way to frame weird stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if this is what ends up starting to, challenge people's actual gun rights and stuff like that, just because, right? It just, again, there is certain things you just have to not necessarily do, especially to not give government and things of the sort like that more political power than it already is. There's already enough nonsense as it is, trying to stop payment processors from being on bullshit. There's already enough problems going in when it comes down to, you know, things of the sort like of what we want to buy of our entertainment and just stuff in general. It's already hard enough. We don't really need another incident to take people by storm. Switch mentalities real quick, and then that ends up being like the big narrative push to actually start, censoring people as a whole when it comes down to it. And you know what the crazy part is? This is like, as crazy as this is, for somebody to get boomed in this sort of way for whatever opinion they might have had, to be absolutely honest with you, this is people killed for less, and that's a crazy thing too. People have definitely done stuff for less, and it's never really a good time. It's always been something, that is just you just don't really think about things like this that just will happen, and you just hope it never does. But when things like this happen, especially in today's society, you just get these weird ass people that come through just being happy as hell that someone gets booned for literally the smallest reason possible, and it's just definitely sad. Now, obviously, you could definitely say one side of the political spectrum definitely advocates for violence and things like that, way more than someone else does and all that sort of stuff. And we can very much go into that sort of topic if that's what you want to do. But I don't want to because I don't want to necessarily go super hard in, politics and stuff like that. But obviously, there has been a lot of people like on Blue Sky and stuff like that that has always been on some violent tendencies. Not every single person that's on that side is obviously a bad person, but there is a lot of people that is very much like that. And even with those bad people, at the end of the day, it should never come down to actually trying to boom someone or some type of level of violence or something like that too, because it just makes everybody looks insane when that's the case, right? That you try to make it commonplace. Like there is, like this is how I feel about even with certain crimes, right? If certain people commit certain crimes, and if the system does what it should do, at the end of the day, let the system take care of it. Let them do what they need to do with it, and then they decide the ultimate ending of what ends up happening to the person that obviously did the bad thing. That's how it should be done. There's been instances across the world, not even just in America, where people have just straight up, got they get back over that person, whoever it might be, or just straight up do like the most torturous bullshit I've ever seen. And it's like, I'd rather just let them go through the justice system and figure things out. I get it. Justice system sucks sometimes. Shit ain't right. They like to put people in positions where they shouldn't be put in terms of like actually getting stuff done. But ultimately, it's a shitty time. It's just a shitty time that shouldn't have happened, right? Because again, once really the moment you start ensuing like a lot more violence to really just happen, you know what ultimately that shit's gonna lead into? The government's gonna basically step in way more to try to control, monitor, and basically take away any sort of freedom that you have just to prevent not only a situation like that from happening again, but also to really get into your business where they have no reason to. This is just giving them ammunition to kind of just do that. And that's just how it is. I don't really care how anybody feels about that guy. I don't know the guy that hard or anything like that. I don't really care to defend whatever his takes were, whatever it is, because I don't necessarily know. But when it comes down to it, though, it's just the fact in general that, obviously, it should never come down to booming somebody because obviously you don't agree with their opinion. There's plenty of people that obviously don't agree with a lot of other people's opinion. There's a lot of people, when it comes down to it, with their opinions that I don't necessarily really too much care for. But when it comes down to it, though, if violence is really all that you have to kind of prove somebody wrong, you're a bitch. You're kind of a bitch. And I'm not going to sit here and lie. Because what you basically are just saying, that I can't prove you wrong with my words. I can't make a change. So you know what? I'll force a change by being a little bitch. And that's the only way. And that's just how it is. It's sad. It's messed up. It's something that, that people come to the conclusion with because they're sad at times. And that's just how it is. And the fact that, and if that's again really the conclusion that you come down to, that you have to throw hands, that you have to, straight up piece somebody up with the Glock combo, it's a shitty time, and you're a shitty person, right? And ultimately, the fact that again people very much be happy that it happened is also very much bitch made as a whole, very shitty as a whole when it comes down to it. You know, it just is what it is, right? I would think the sane person that's in the room is the person that's obviously not celebrating any sort of like death or anything like that whatsoever. It's just again, it's a weird time that we live in. It's very much weird. Hell, I've seen even some VTubers go out their way to say that, you know what, I don't even want to show my identity or anything like that solely because of what just happened with that whole, event, right? They don't even want to show their face anymore because of that. And that's crazy, right? That's ultimately crazy, but I get it. Because again, you don't really know what people might say. A VTuber could very much have a most innocent opinion on something or whatever that's like doesn't really matter that hard to a lot of people, and yet that one person might take it a little too literally and then might stalk and kidnap that VTuber or do something even more horrible to them or whatever. Just throwing it out there to say kind of like an example, right? And I can't blame them for that shit. It's terrible that you have to constantly live in fear and constantly just be worried about shit. And this is exactly the reason why too. I'm also kind of just like annoyed when people go overseas, try to bring up their whole bullshit over there, and it's like no, because our way sucks. Our way of living sucks. We are delusional ass people at times. We are very much people who are basically having no hearts whatsoever, right? The very same group of people that very much is like, hell yeah, let's be progressive, is the very same group of people that also, at least some of them, will also be very violent and definitely just doing shit just because they can. Which are the very same people that also needs to be off the damn streets and honestly needs to be put behind a cell at some point in time too, right? Because that's just how it is. Again, it's not everybody on that side, but there's a lot of people just in general when it comes down to it. No matter really what side you on, there's always going to be violent ass people. That is why you have to, at least if you are feeling some type of violent way or you feel like you just need to do something, there's outlets for that that you can really use so things don't get so serious when it comes down to it. Obviously, talking to someone helps. You got rage rooms, for example. You have, places just to take out, your frustration and stuff. You convert that into something else. You know, that's just how it is. If you were to like find other ways to convert that negative energy and all that sort of stuff, then you wouldn't be going out doing a lot of stuff that you would do, right? I'm not saying if there's anybody in particular or anything like that, but I'm just saying in general, if you feel some type of way, you should definitely let it out in a more, safe, positive way instead of just trying to take it out on somebody else because you just want to be an ass. And that's just how it is. And then it just causes more discourse when it comes down to it. Again, just the whole point is just somebody having a different opinion of you should not necessarily be boom worthy, essentially. They shouldn't be getting killed for that because that's just weird. It's just stupid. And it just causes a lot more problems than it's actually worth. Believe it or not, it just does. And then let's just say, oh, the person, what random person is just straight up evil or something like that as well, too, right? Because ultimately that could be the case. You could be like, oh, this person was straight up evil, he needed to go or something like that. Fine. Guess what? Somebody else is going to replace them. It's like a pirate channel that you find like on, online or whatever. You get rid of one site, another one comes through. Even if you get rid of every single person, guess what? Somebody new will come through and absolutely do the work that they left off on or do something in a different way to make you mad. And that's just how it is. You can't really solve the problem with violence. The only true way to, get something going is by having actual dialogue, talking to people, things like that, right? That's just how it is. You can't be scared to not say what's actually on your mind or, actually voice your opinion about something because ultimately you're just going to have to. You as long as you live in this world, you will have an opinion about something. The only difference is whether or not you want to say it or not. But if you don't say anything, shit could get just as bad as it is now, or there's a chance that you could change somebody's mind. Simple as that. It's dangerous, I understand that, but also at the very same time, it's something that you just have to consider, right? It is what it is. It's again, it's a very shitty thing to see. It's a very terrible event that has happened. Honestly, again, for really just everything across the board, and it's something that shouldn't just be a thing. It shouldn't. There shouldn't be. It's just like a lot of the shootings that you see in, obviously places of learning. There shouldn't be things like that that happen constantly in America. There shouldn't be things like that. I believe if I heard Dylan Page say it, I think he said there was like 49 shootings like that this year, which is obviously not great, right? Almost damn near a shooting for each state. That's kind of crazy if you think about that. Ultimately, though, it's something that shouldn't just be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing that this is just happens, right? It really shouldn't be. And the fact that it is just a sad time. Shit is just going to get a lot worse before it can ever really get better. And honestly, I'm kind of wondering if there even is going to be a better, because people are just being weird. It is what it is ultimately, right? I don't really get it. Ultimately, I don't really get it. I do think a lot of it does come from a lot of fatigue that we don't go through from our daily lives, and things not getting better in the most basic way, like cost of living and things of sort like that. Can't afford food. Can't even go out to get a decent meal just every once in a while or something like that. It is definitely the most basic stuff that I feel like does bring this sort of element into play. But ultimately, though, it definitely, again, is something that should not be demonstrated in a negative sort of way, or just straight up be taken upon by somebody else to do something to someone else and then cause this whole thing to happen. Like, it shouldn't be the case. Point is, just whatever you feel about this sort of, negative space of how you feel about certain people's opinions, don't necessarily try to let that fester. Try to talk to people if you can. Do what you can do to let that be a, positive place of an outlet when it comes down to, actually expressing yourself and letting it out. Because obviously taking it on advantage, really taking advantage of a situation or taking somebody else out is never really the move. Cause like, what now? People gonna come through and just be like, you know what? You like this anime? I don't like that anime. Get boomed for it? You like the color red? I don't like the color red. Just straight up boom you because you like the color red? Like, it's weird. That's what this basically devolves into. We turn back into actual, literally, cavemen. We turn back into that sort of mentality. And that's what we basically are going back to, right? That is just how it is. We get crazy and go excited for fire and all that sort of stuff, because that's how basic our minds are starting to reverse back into. So, again, it's just a very shitty situation. Something, again, I wasn't really going to talk about on this channel, but ultimately, it does and possibly will affect things like, the freedom of speech, obviously. And, this could very much be a key way for political powers to kind of come through and censor our free speech and stuff like that, and just give them more ammunition for censorship. That's really one big thing of why I want to talk about it, but also just to talk about it because it is a messed up situation that honestly no one should be really celebrating. Again, I don't even know the person like that. I might have seen them on TikTok once before, but I don't even know them like that, nor have I really listened to anything they had to say, honestly. But you know, it just sucks. I would rather very much someone be out there kind of just, debating people like this more faster than I would ever want to see, somebody getting straight up to violence or something like that. It's never making sense. It's just senseless at the end of the day. That's really the most I can say. So yeah, not really the video I thought I was gonna talk about, but it is something I feel like definitely needed to be said, because there's always been people that has, opinions, and people very much hate other people for those opinions. And that's why a lot of the time online, you get people starting to threaten other people, trying to dox people constantly, and all that sort of stuff. And they're crazy people. They're insane, crazy people that go that far because you don't like a certain thing, and it's just weird, right? Just let people enjoy what they're going to enjoy, let them say what they're going to say, and then literally move the hell on, because it's not necessarily that damn deep. It never is. I promise you, no matter what ends up happening, no matter really how this world is basically run, there will never be a situation, and there's always a situation where you could talk and people could understand and things like that. It's just people always try to go for the negative option because it's there. They can, and that's just how it is, and it sucks. Just to be honest with you. But yeah, again, that's really all I want to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow my socials, and if you'd like to join the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's Boy J, sign off. Have a blessed day.